I really hope my story gets chosen, because that day was sinister. The Louvre was everything I had ever imagined. An endless maze of grand halls, adorned with towering ceilings and gilded frames that seemed to whisper stories from centuries past. The air was heavy with the faint scent of polished wood and aged canvas, a smell that carried a weight of history. Soft murmurs of tourists floated through the galleries, blending with the occasional shuffle of footsteps on the marble floors. It was a cloudy afternoon, the kind where the light outside barely breaks through, leaving shadows to stretch and twist unnaturally across the walls. I remember thinking how the atmosphere felt strangely melancholic, almost as though the museum itself was alive and watching. The Mona Lisa was my last stop, a lifelong dream to see her enigmatic smile in person. When I turned the corner into the gallery, it felt surreal. But what struck me wasn't just the painting, it was the stillness. The space, usually packed with crowds jostling for a glimpse, was eerily empty. There had been a handful of people earlier, a couple arguing softly, a man in a beige coat studying another painting. But now, I was alone. Or so it seemed. The silence was unsettling. I could hear my own breathing, shallow and uneven. The faint creak of the floorboards beneath my feet sent a shiver down my spine. It was the kind of silence that presses against your ears, forcing you to notice every little sound. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling slightly, and aimed it at the painting. The dim light cast an odd glow over the Mona Lisa's face, making her smile seem different, almost knowing. I chuckled nervously, trying to shake the strange sensation crawling up my neck. And then it hit me, a cold, unshakable feeling that I wasn't alone. It wasn't a sound or a shadow. It was the kind of sensation that starts at the base of your spine and spreads upward, setting every nerve on edge. I spun around, my eyes darting across the room. The benches were empty. The doorways were silent. There was no one there. I let out a shaky breath, laughing at myself under my breath. Just your imagination, I whispered, more to the air than to myself. But even as I said it, I couldn't ignore the way the hairs on my arms were standing on end. Reluctantly, I turned back to the painting, forcing myself to focus. The feeling didn't leave, though. It lingered like a presence just out of reach, watching, waiting. And yet, I convinced myself it was nothing. What else could it be? I raised my phone and took the selfie, a quick snap in front of the Mona Lisa. It was supposed to be just another souvenir, one of many from my trip. But as I glanced down at the screen to check the picture, my heart skipped a beat. There was, behind me, a figure, faint but undeniable. It wasn't a person, at least not one I could explain. Blurred, shadowy, and distorted, like it was caught in motion. My first thought was, no, this can't be right. I turned so fast that my bag nearly slipped off my shoulder. My eyes darted around the room, searching every corner, every shadow. It was empty, completely empty. My hands trembled as I looked at the photo again, hoping, praying, that it was just a trick of the light. But the figure was still there, the same blurry shape, only now it seemed closer. My breathing quickened, shallow and uneven. A part of me wanted to delete the picture and pretend none of this was happening, but I couldn't. Something about it rooted me in place, a sickening mix of curiosity and fear. It's just a glitch, I muttered under my breath, tried to convince myself. My voice sounded foreign, shaky, but deep down, I knew it wasn't a glitch. I knew it wasn't the light playing tricks. Then I felt it, a weight, heavy and oppressive, pressing down on me. The air grew thick, harder to breathe. It wasn't just the stillness of the room anymore. It was something else, something wrong. And then the sound started, faint at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. It was too soft to make out words, but it felt close, too close. I froze. My legs refused to move, as though they were anchored to the floor. My fingers gripped the phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I strained my ears trying to figure out where the sound was coming from, but it was everywhere, surrounding me. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice barely audible, almost hoping no one would answer. The whispering stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. I waited, my heart pounding in my chest, expecting something, anything to happen. But nothing did. The room was as still as it had been when I first walked in. I took a step back, my legs shaky beneath me, and glanced at the photo one last time. My breath caught in my throat. The figure hadn't moved, but its outline seemed sharper, clearer, as if it was watching me through the screen. I didn't delete the picture. I couldn't. Instead, I slipped my phone into my pocket and walked out of the gallery as quickly as I could, my skin crawling with the sensation of unseen eyes following me. I told myself it was over, that whatever it was had stayed behind. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I ran. I don't remember deciding to move. My legs just took over. My heartbeat drowned out everything else as I bolted down the corridors, past startled tourists and security guards who called out after me. I didn't stop, didn't even glance back. I couldn't. The moment I burst through the museum's glass doors, the cold Parisian air hit me like a slap to the face. It should have felt freeing, but it didn't. My chest was tight, my breath coming in short gasps as I stood there on the steps, clutching my knees, trying to convince myself that it was over. But it wasn't. Even outside, the unease clung to me like a shadow. Every passing glance from a stranger felt like a threat. Every sound, a car horn, a distant laugh, felt sharp, intrusive. I kept checking over my shoulder, half expecting to see that figure standing in the crowd, waiting. By the time I reached my hotel room, I was shaking. My reflection in the mirror looked foreign, pale, wide-eyed, the look of someone who had seen something they couldn't explain. I splashed water on my face, forcing myself to calm down. "It's just a photo," I whispered, trying to ground myself. "Just a trick of the light. That's all it is." But when I grabbed my phone to delete it, everything unraveled. The image wasn't the same. The figure, once a blurred outline, was now impossibly sharp. Its form was wrong, twisted, unnatural. In the eyes, they weren't eyes at all. Just black voids, endless and empty, staring straight into me through the screen. My stomach churned, my hand trembling as I stared at the photo. "No," I mumbled, almost pleading with the phone. "No, no, no." I dropped it. It clattered onto the nightstand, face down, but I still felt those hollow eyes boring into me. Panic surged through me. I wanted to leave, to run, but where would I go? Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands gripping the sheets so tightly they ached. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, pressing down on me. And then came the sound, a soft creak like footsteps, but there was no one there. I froze, my breath catching in my throat, straining to hear more. The silence was unbearable, broken only by the faint hum of the hotel's air conditioning. I didn't sleep that night. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound magnified. And that photo, God, that photo stayed burned into my mind. I couldn't delete it, not because I wanted to keep it, but because some irrational part of me feared it wouldn't let me. Now, even days later, I can still feel it. Watching, waiting. What should I do? Tell me, please. Am I going crazy? Or is something real following me? Because whatever this is, it's not over. I know it's not over. I haven't shown the photo to anyone. Not my friends, not my family. It sits there on my phone untouched, yet I can't bring myself to delete it. Every time I think about opening the gallery and looking at it again, my chest tightens and my hands start to tremble. I don't know if I'm ready to face whatever it is. Part of me wonders if sharing it would make it real, like saying it out loud would give it power. But keeping it to myself isn't helping either. The longer I hold on to it, the more it feels like it's holding on to me. Every night since that day at the Louvre, I've felt it, watching. Not directly, but it's there. In the stillness of the room when I'm alone. In the faint creak of the floorboards. Even though no one is walking. Sometimes I think I catch movement in the corner of my eye, but when I turn, nothing is there. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. Maybe I was traumatized and this was all in my head. But the feeling doesn't go away. It doesn't fade. I've tried rationalizing it. Maybe it's just a glitch in the photo. Maybe I was tired, and my imagination filled in the gaps. But no explanation feels right. And then there are the nights. When I lie in bed, the room feels different. Heavy, like something is pressing down on the air itself. There's no sound, no footsteps, no whispers anymore, just the silence. And somehow, that's worse. Sometimes I stare at my phone, thinking, what if I'm wrong? What if it's not just a photo? But I can't bring myself to look again. What if the figure has changed? Or moved? I don't know what to do. I feel like I didn't leave the Louvre alone that day. It's like something came with me, but I can't explain it. I can't even understand it. That's why I need your help. Had you ever heard of anything like this before? What would you do if you were in my place? Should I show the photo to someone? Or should I just destroy the phone? I don't even know if that would help. Please tell me what you think, because whatever this is, it feels like it's not finished. And I don't think I can face it alone. And this was one of our followers' stories. If you want your story to be told by us as well, leave it in the comments below this video. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, we prepared the next video especially for you. Click here to watch it.